All right. So in this lecture, let's learn about what is an agent, right? So an AI model which is capable of reasoning, planning, and interacting with its environment is called an agent. So instead of looking at the agent definition, let's try to understand the concept of an agent and then try to define ourselves, right? For example, let's say you want to plan a fun trip or vacation with your friends. For instance, let's say you are planning a fun trip from Texas to New York or any other fun place. So, what do we need to do? That is, what are the actions that we need to do? First thing is we need to book flights, right? So, we need to check the flight's price and then book a flight, both to and fro. And then we have to book hotels. We need to check the hotel's price and hotel safety or hotel reviews, etc. And then we want to list all the places that we want to visit, right? So make a list of places to visit and have fun, right? And then the next thing is PTO approval, that is paid time off, right, from your manager. Let's say if you and your friends are working professionals, then you need to get the PTO approvals or leave approvals from your manager. So, if you want to travel from one place to another, you need to perform all these actions which will consume your time, right? So, let's say you can rely on something which does all these jobs for you, which can automatically take you from one place to another. So, an agent is nothing but something which can take you from one place to another place and adds value to your life. So, in this context, the value is nothing but saving time or saving money, right? Because to perform all these actions, you need to invest time, right? So, that is the value. So instead of an agent, for example, let's say a flight or car or any other vehicle can do the same task, right? That is, it can take you from one place to another and it can add value to you. So what's the meaning of agent here? So let's dive deeper into it. So while planning this trip, agents should be able to make numerous decisions based on several points. That is, price or safety or reviews, or send an email to your manager and get the approval from the manager, just like how a human can make decisions, right? So a car can take you from one place to another, but it cannot make decisions automatically, right? Therefore, an agent is nothing but something which can take you from one place to another and adds value to your life and also can plan and make decisions automatically. So, to do these kind of activities, we have something called self-driving cars, right? They can also plan and do the decision making, right? So, what's the point of an agent? So, let's deep dive. While doing this process, the agents also have access to tools. In our example, what kind of tools an agent needs access to similar to a human? For example, if you have to book a flight or if you have to book a hotel, you need to go to internet and do the search. That is, you have to go to orbits.com or any other website and you need to be able to perform a search in order to book a flight, right? And need to be able to scrape a website, that is being able to understand what's written on this website. It's just a plain text, right? So agents should be able to understand the language. So in order to get PTO approval, or if you have to send an email, that is another tool, right? So to send an email to your manager for approval, so an agent should be able to do all these activities similar to how a human does, right? Therefore, an agent is nothing but something which can take you from one place to another and adds value to your life and also can plan and make decisions automatically by having access to tools. So, an agent is interacting with the external environment, for example, orbits.com in our case, to perform these different tasks. For example, an agent goes to different websites to book a flight or hotel. It takes decisions, prepares the travel itinerary, sends an email to the manager, and receives the email from the manager. So, an agent is working on behalf of a human, and just like a human, an agent is interacting with the external world, right? So, what have we learned about an agent so far? An agent is nothing but something which can take you from one place to another and adds value to your life, and also it can make decisions automatically by having access to tools. That is, it can interact with the external environment. So we have seen an example on the consumer side, that is the people side. That is how an agent performs different tasks on the consumer sides, that is the people who use the applications built, right? Now let's take another example on the industry or service provider side, so you understand the concept of agents much better, right? For example, assume we have a sales team, and the workflow of the sales team is that you have to go to the LinkedIn, and then the next step is you need to identify the potential candidates or prospective clients. And then the next step is send cold emails to the clients. That is, cold emails meaning reaching out to the person via email directly. And the next step is check the response from the clients. If you do not get any response, then exit from the system. If you get a response from the client, then the next step is you need to set up a meeting with the client and then send another follow-up email. And then prepare a report with the sales won, that is client who replied, or sales lost, that is client who did not reply, right? So you have to do the sentiment analysis, whether you won or you lost. Okay. So assume this is the entire workflow of the sales team. So the task is from discovering the prospective clients on the LinkedIn platform to mark the sheet, that is CRM, customer relationship management, as either sales won, that is client who replied, or sales lost, that is the client who did not reply. So this is our entire workflow. And assume if the agent needs to perform all these tasks, what kind of tools do you think the agent needs in order to automate this sales workflow? The first thing is agent should have LinkedIn access. So having access to LinkedIn is a tool. And then agent should be able to send an email. That is, having access to email is a tool. So if no response, agent should be able to exit the workflow action. And if the response is yes from the client, then agent should be able to schedule a meeting, that is either Teams call or Zoom call, with the prospective client and send a meeting invite. And based on the meeting with the clients, the agent should be able to transcribe the meeting and understand the sentiment, that is the customer interested or not, right? Then the agent should have access to the Excel sheet based on the meeting transcription, and agent should be able to classify the client as whether the client is interested or not interested, right? So based on our definition of an agent that we just learned, an agent is nothing but something which can take you from one place to another and adds value to your life, and also can make decisions and plan automatically by having access to tools, right? So this is what we learned so far. Now let's see how this scenario fits in here. So the first thing, in agent takes you from one place to another. So in this case, it should take us from discovering the prospective clients on the LinkedIn platform to marking the sheet as sales won or sales lost, right? So it is also be able to make the decisions automatically. So what is the value that we are getting as a human, right? If agents can automate this entire workflow, then there will not be a need for humans to do any task except a person needing to attend a meeting, right? The rest of the task can be automated by agents, right? So generally humans have restrictions on how much work they can do, how many emails they can send per day, but not for an agent, right? Agents can send a lot of emails and complete the sales workflow easily and save us the time as well as save us the cost, because we may not need many people to do these tasks, right? And also more interested clients, meaning more revenue, right? So with this use case, you understood the value of an agent, right? And another aspect of an agent is the agent should be able to have memory as well. That is, agent should be able to remember the previous conversations with the clients. For example, assume an agent wrongly classifies the sales won versus sales lost. Right? So let's say if the client is interested, instead of marking it as sales won, if the agent marked it as sales lost, then that is not accurate, right? So in real time, this can happen. So that's why we need human in the loop to evaluate the results that are generated by an agent. And once the human corrects the classification, then the agent should be able to correct the mistake. That means the agent should have memory to rectify this mistake. So an agent should be able to receive the feedback from the human and correct the mistakes with the help of memory. So this concept is nothing but human in the loop feedback. So agents should have all these. That is, it should take you from one place to another, and it should have access to tools. That is, in this case, sending an email or scheduling a call, right? So it should be able to interact with the external environment, and the agent should have the memory, and it should be able to get the feedback from the human. So we cannot blindly leave an agent to complete the entire workflow. So humans should be there in the loop to evaluate the results, right? So now you understand what exactly an agent is. Agent should be able to take us from one place to another and the value that the agent is adding. And the next thing is the agent capable of accessing the external tools and be able to make decisions and come up with a plan, right? And the next thing is, does the agent have memory, and an agent be able to listen to the human feedback and rectify any mistakes. So with this, you got a clear understanding on what an agent is, right? We have learned the definition of an agent through examples instead of just directly going to the definition of an agent, right? But why are we learning now? Why not before? Why not learn about agents in the previous years? Because the models, for example, ChatGPT, Grok, or Gemini, etc., right? So all these models are extremely good at understanding the language. So this is the research that went behind this, right? So we know there is a concept called attention mechanism, because of which models are able to understand the human language, right? So this is the transformer architecture, both encoder and decoder, right? So this is the research paper related to that. Please go through it when you have some time. But yeah, the transformer architecture is the reason behind why the models are able to understand the language. So this is the most important concept, right? So if an agent needs to make a decision or to understand the context of the meeting, everything is text, right? So just like a human understands the text, agent should be able to understand the language or text. So as a human, only if I know how to understand the language, I can make the decisions, right? So similarly with the transformer architecture, the one that we just saw, models became very good at understanding the language or text. So the moment models are able to understand the language, then we went further ahead and thought, why can't these models make decisions and perform the tasks just like a human, right? So large language models understanding the human language is the key. So that is the reason why the agents are so popular now, not in the previous years, right? So for example, in our example, an agent needs to send an email, right? So if you ask a model like ChatGPT, let me take you there. Help me send an email for leave approval. Hit enter, right? So it understands and provides us with the information. So this is the language model in action, and it understands the language very well. Whatever we are giving it, it is able to understand and give us the answer. Okay. So agents can perform all these tasks by using the language model, because the models are able to understand the language or text, right? So agents should be able to take us from one place to another, and the value that the agent is adding, agent is capable of accessing the external world, or tools and be able to make decisions and come up with a plan. An agent should have a memory, and an agent be able to listen to the human feedback and rectify any mistakes. So that is the definition of an agent. So don't worry about the theory. Once we build a project, then you will understand all these concepts, right? So we will deep dive into the language models in the coming lectures, but I hope with these examples you got a pretty good understanding on what an agent is. All right. Thank you.